The silence in my meticulously ordered life wasn't golden. It was the chilling hum of a well-oiled machine grinding to a halt. This, I suppose, is my entry into the unwritten chronicles, a place where secrets fester and hearts break with a terrifying precision. I always believed my life with Michael was a fortress of predictability, every gear clicking into place, career, ambitions, our shared future. But the mechanism faltered. The gears choked with unspoken resentments, leaving an echoing void where love once resided. Have you ever felt the foundations of your world crack, not from a sudden earthquake, but from the slow, insidious creep of neglect? If this journey into the shadows of a failing marriage resonates with you, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell, because this is a path many walk, but few dare to illuminate. My name is Ava, and for years, I was one half of Ava and Michael, a power couple in the making, or so we told ourselves. We were architects of our futures, drafting blueprints for success. Yet somewhere along the way, we forgot to build a bridge between our two increasingly distant planets. We became courteous strangers, sharing a mortgage, our conversations dwindling to logistical exchanges. I never imagined my heart could learn a new rhythm, a dangerous staccato that pulsed for someone else, that I'd search for solace not within our sterile modern home, but in the most unexpected of places. Then Ethan Cole walked into our firm, and the axis of my world tilted. He was everything Michael was not, tall with an easy athleticism that spoke of life lived beyond spreadsheets and boardrooms. His smile was a disarming curve. His eyes, a startling shade of hazel, held a keen, observant intelligence that missed nothing but judged nothing. There was an effortless magnetism about him, a vibrant energy that seemed to ripple through the office, making the air crackle. The women on our team visibly preened. Laughter became more frequent, the entire office dynamic subtly shifting with his arrival. I didn't even register when my casual work interactions with Ethan began to morph into something more. We'd share jokes about office absurdities, dissect complex projects, and the lightness of our banter was an intoxicating relief from the suffocating formality of my evenings with Michael. A tiny alarm bell began to chime in the recesses of my conscience. This burgeoning connection, this undeniable pull, it wasn't just friendship. I tried to dismiss it, to reaffirm my vows to Michael. Did I still love him? Or had the comfort of familiarity simply masqueraded as love for too long? The questions, sharp and unwelcome, shadowed my every thought. One evening, returning home to find Michael hunched over legal briefs, the familiar scene struck me with a fresh wave of desolation. He barely glanced up, his focus absolute, as if my presence was merely part of the ambient noise of his demanding career. I wanted to scream, to shake him, to demand he see me, but the words died in my throat. We were both exhausted, by our careers, by the charade, by a life that had become a gilded cage. Ethan, in contrast, became a beacon. We fell into a routine of pre-meeting breakfasts, of lingering coffee breaks that stretched a little too long. He was an extraordinary listener, his attention a warm embrace. My phone lighting up with his name would send a ridiculous, illicit thrill through me. It was a spark of life, a vibrancy I hadn't realized I was starving for. Was it wrong? We were just colleagues, I rationalized. Just friends. I hadn't crossed any lines. But the justifications felt flimsy, paper-thin defenses against a rising tide of emotion. Have you ever found yourself rationalizing a connection that you know deep down is treading dangerous water? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Sometimes voicing these dilemmas is the first step to clarity. The emptiness of our home was a palpable entity on nights Michael worked late, the silence amplifying my unquiet mind. Staring out at the indifferent city lights, I'd wonder, what if this profound loneliness wasn't just a symptom of our busy lives, but a terminal diagnosis for our marriage? During one of our extended lunches, Ethan's gaze lingered on mine a moment too long, a spark igniting in the charged space between us. My heart stuttered. The unspoken tension had become a living thing, too potent to ignore. I didn't know where this path was leading, but a terrifying premonition told me it would irrevocably alter the landscape of my life. The charade of just friendship became increasingly difficult to maintain. Ethan wasn't just a colleague anymore. He was the gravitational center around which my thoughts and desires now orbited. My first act upon entering the office was to seek him out, my day subtly brighter when his easy smile met mine. We were partners in project discussions, confidants in hushed break room conversations, our connection deepening with every shared glance, every whispered aside. His voice, calm and confident, became a lifeline, offering the genuine attention and care that had long since evaporated from my marriage. We started working later, the emptying office providing a cloak for our lingering conversations, the thrill of the clandestine adding a dangerous spice. Michael, in contrast, receded further into the background of my life, a familiar ghost in a house that no longer felt like home. Our conversations, when they occurred, were stilted, functional, further fueling my irritation and sense of isolation. One evening, after a particularly grueling day, Ethan suggested coffee. We found a quiet cafe, tucked away from the office bustle. The specifics of our conversation have faded, but the intensity of his presence, the way his eyes seemed to delve into my very soul, remains seared into my memory. A silent understanding bloomed between us, a fragile, precious thing that belonged only to us. "Have you ever thought about how things could be different?" he asked suddenly, his voice a low murmur that sent shivers down my spine. His question, a direct echo of my own secret musings, caught me completely off guard. "What do you mean?" I parried, though his intent was crystal clear. "That life is more than just schedules and obligations, Ava," he pressed gently, his gaze unwavering. "We get so caught up in the plan, we forget to live, forget what we truly want." His words were a direct hit, and though I tried to deflect, he saw through my flimsy defenses. Returning to an empty apartment, Michael, again consumed by work, became the norm. The solitude offering too much space for my thoughts to stray, increasingly, to Ethan. The following weeks saw us manufacturing opportunities to be alone, the silences between us no longer awkward, but pregnant with unspoken desire, a tension so thick it was almost a physical presence. We were circling each other, two celestial bodies drawn by an undeniable force, both knowing a collision was inevitable. The corporate gathering, held on a hotel's top floor with the glittering cityscape as a backdrop, felt like a stage set for a drama I hadn't auditioned for. Michael, predictably, was absent, another casualty of his relentless career. As I stepped into the room, a strange sense of detachment washed over me. Then I saw Ethan. Our eyes met across the crowded space, and an electric jolt shot through me. His gaze was proprietary, knowing, as if he could read the illicit script unfolding within me. The ambient laughter and chatter faded to a dull roar, my senses hyper-aware of his presence. Later, needing a reprieve, I stepped onto the terrace. The cool night air did little to soothe my fevered thoughts. Soon, his familiar silhouette joined me. "Tired of the charade?" he asked, his voice a low caress, moving beyond polite inquiry. "A little," I admitted, a dangerous cocktail of unease and anticipation churning within me. We stood side by side, the city lights sprawling beneath us, his proximity a tangible force. "We can leave," he suggested, his tone casual, yet laden with implication. "And go where?" I whispered, turning to meet his intense gaze. Inches separated us. This was it, the precipice. Ava. His voice was a low thrum. Have you ever considered what might happen if we just allowed ourselves a little more? Fear and excitement warred within me. You know this isn't right, I managed, my voice a traitorous tremble. Is it? He countered, stepping closer. And what's right, Ava? Living the lie you're in? Ignoring this undeniable current between us? He was right, of course. This electric pull had transcended friendship long ago. But the fear of the irrevocable, of shattering the remnants of my life, held me captive. His fingers brushed mine, a feather-light touch that sent a shockwave through my system. My resolve crumbled. He moved closer, his breath warm on my cheek. My mind screamed a warning, but my body, starved for connection, for sensation, betrayed me. His lips met mine, a tentative exploration that deepened into a kiss of startling intensity, awakening a dormant hunger I'd suppressed for years. His hands found my shoulders, then slid to my waist, pulling me closer. The world tilted, then dissolved. I had crossed the line. Pulling back, breathless, I whispered, I can't. But the words were hollow, even to my own ears. You already have, Ava. His voice was a low, confident murmur. He was right. The choice had been made in 1,000 small surrenders, leading to this cataclysmic moment. When I finally crept home past midnight, the house was a tomb of silence and shadow. My lips still burned from Ethan's kiss, my mind a chaotic whirlwind of recrimination and a dizzying, terrifying thrill. You're late. Michael's voice, emerging from the darkness of the living room, made me jump. His silhouette was barely discernible, but his tone was sharp, edged with a suspicion I hadn't heard before. The party dragged on. I lied, my voice strained. You look different, he observed, his eyes narrowed, scrutinizing me in a way that made my skin crawl. Did he know? Could he sense the seismic shift within me? Just tired, I mumbled. But the excuse felt flimsy, transparent. He approached, and I instinctively tensed. Rebecca? Ava? He used my given name, a rarity, his voice softer now, but laced with an unsettling insistence. Are you all right? I nodded, incapable of speech, the weight of my guilt, a physical pressure in my chest. The chasm between my secret life with Ethan and my public life with Michael had become a terrifying, unbridgeable abyss. His kiss on my forehead that night was a brand of betrayal, stirring nothing but a deeper sense of emptiness. Lying beside him, feigning sleep, the memory of Ethan's kiss, his touch, replayed on a torturous loop, my body responding even as my mind recoiled in shame. The inner conflict was a raging storm, and I knew, with a sickening certainty, that I was on a collision course with disaster. Every day after that kiss was a tightrope walk over a chasm of deceit. The guilt was a constant companion when I woke beside Michael, yet it would momentarily evaporate the instant I saw Ethan at work, replaced by that intoxicating, dangerous pull. Our clandestine meetings escalated, unspoken agreements leading us to stolen moments. Our first truly private encounter was in the deserted office parking lot late one evening. The tension in his car was electric. You understand that this is, I began, but he cut me off. I know. His voice was low, firm. But we both feel it, Ava. He was right. The internal battle still raged, but when his hand covered mine, the doubts receded, eclipsed by an overwhelming need. His lips found mine again, deeper this time, a passionate claiming that left me weak-kneed and breathless. "We can't stay here," I gasped. "Let's go," he said, and we drove, leaving the city and its judgments behind, to a secluded spot he knew. In the sanctuary of his car, far from prying eyes, our kisses grew hungrier, the passion consuming us. I forgot Michael, forgot my vows, forgot everything but the man in my arms, his touch, his breath against my skin. This was the point of no return. Our affair became a series of stolen moments in hidden places. His apartment, deserted parks, quiet, out-of-the-way cafes. Each rendezvous was a gamble, the risk of discovery, a perverse spice that only heightened the thrill. But it was more than just physical. We connected on a level I'd never experienced. I shared my dreams, my fears, the profound sense of being adrift, and he listened with an attentiveness that was a balm to my lonely soul. One weekend, he suggested a cabin by a lake, a true escape. Waking in his arms, the morning sun filtering through the trees, I felt a sense of rightness, of belonging that had been absent from my life for so long. We walked, we swam, we talked, we laughed. It was an idyllic, stolen dream. But the dream was always shadowed by the impending return to reality, and the guilt gnawed at me relentlessly. Michael sensed the growing distance, his attempts to reconnect becoming more insistent, which only amplified my internal torment. I was living a lie, and the strain was becoming unbearable. Ethan had become the person I once believed Michael could be, attentive, caring, sure of our connection. But the question loomed, how long could this precarious balancing act last? When Ethan proposed another weekend away at a secluded forest cabin, I agreed, desperate for another escape, telling Michael I was visiting a friend, my first bold, outright lie. The cabin was a haven, a pocket outside of reality where only Ethan and I existed. As we sat by the fireplace, wine in hand, the intimacy was profound. "Have you ever thought," he began, his voice soft, "that this is more than just a game, Ava?" His words pierced my carefully constructed defenses. This wasn't just an affair. I was deeply, terrifyingly attached to him. "I don't know what I want," I whispered, "but I know I don't want this to end." His lips met mine, a kiss that sealed our illicit bond, a deep, soulful connection that transcended the physical. Passion erupted, consuming us. Afterwards, lying in the afterglow, the truth was undeniable. "I can't live a double life anymore," I blurted out. "I don't want you to feel guilty," he said softly. "But I want you to be happy, Ava. We deserve that." His words were a gentle absolution, yet they underscored the impossible choice ahead. Returning to Michael after that weekend felt like stepping back into a poorly fitting costume. He was home, a surprise, with flowers on the kitchen table. "I thought you might like a little surprise," he said, his smile tentative, hopeful. The gesture, so uncharacteristic, was a painful stab of guilt. He hugged me, his touch suddenly foreign, suffocating. "I've been thinking we need to spend more time together," he said, his voice earnest. "I know it's affected our relationship, but I want us to be close again." His sincerity, his desire to mend what I had so thoroughly broken, was devastating. "I want that too," I choked out, the lie bitter on my tongue. In the following days, Michael redoubled his efforts, suggesting movies, dinners, walks. Each attempt to bridge the gap only widened the chasm within me, highlighting the depth of my betrayal. When he suggested a weekend trip for just the two of us, a desperate plea to salvage our marriage, I knew a reckoning was imminent. "Okay," I agreed, my voice hollow, my heart a battlefield of conflicting loyalties. The pressure was becoming crushing. The risk escalated. Our meetings with Ethan grew more frequent, more daring, fueled by a desperate need that overshadowed caution. One evening we met at our usual cafe near the office. "You realize we can't keep going like this?" Ethan murmured, the tension palpable. "I know," I whispered, yet the thought of ending it was unbearable. "I can't be without you," he confessed, his hand finding mine under the table. His words were a painful solace. A few days later, at his apartment, the temporary sanctuary only highlighted the unsustainability of our situation. "Are you ready for everything to change?" he asked. "I don't know," I admitted. "All I know is I don't want to lose you." "You won't," he vowed, but the worry in his eyes mirrored my own. The next day, Michael's chipper announcement at dinner shattered my precarious composure. "I booked us a trip," he said, "to the coast in 2 weeks, like we used to." It was a desperate lifeline, but to me, it felt like a closing net. The day it all imploded began like any other, the air thick with unspoken accusations and my own mounting dread. I was meeting Ethan for lunch at our usual cafe. I arrived early, my nerves frayed. He walked in, his presence a momentary reprieve. But as he sat down, a familiar voice cut through the cafe's murmur. James, my husband, standing by the counter, talking to a colleague. Panic, cold and swift, seized me. "You need to leave," I hissed at Ethan, my eyes darting towards Michael, who thankfully hadn't spotted us yet. Ethan, quick to grasp the situation, began to rise, but it was too late. Michael turned. Their eyes met, a horrifying suspended moment where my two worlds collided. "Hi, Ava," Michael said, his voice deceptively neutral, though a flicker of suspicion was already dawning. "Who's this?" My heart hammered. "This is a colleague, Adam." "Ethan," I stammered. "We were discussing a project." Michael's gaze lingered on Ethan, sharp and appraising. "Nice to meet you, Ethan," he said, an eyebrow slightly raised. "You never mentioned new colleagues." The implication hung heavy in the air. Ethan, ever composed, offered a plausible explanation, but the damage was done. Michael's forced smile, his suggestion of a team get-together, were veiled threats. I knew he was piecing it together. After Ethan made a hasty exit, Michael's scrutiny intensified. "Are you okay?" he asked, but his eyes were full of doubt. The carefully constructed walls of my secret life were crumbling. The atmosphere at home became toxic. Michael's questions grew more pointed, his silences more accusatory. "How long have you known Ethan?" he finally asked one evening, the question a carefully aimed dart. My attempts at calm deflection were met with his lawyerly precision, dissecting my words, his gaze unyielding. "You've been acting strange, Ava," he pressed. "Something has changed between us, and I want to know what it is." My denials sounded hollow even to my own ears. "Do you think I don't see you're hiding something?" His voice dropped, laced with a chilling anger. "What's going on between you and Ethan?" The directness of it stole my breath. I was trapped, my lies exposed. "Nothing," I whispered, the falsehood blatant. "Nothing?" he hissed. "I see everything, Ava. Your behavior, your meetings, you're betraying me, and I want to know how long this has been going on." His pain, his fury, were like physical blows. "I just want to hear it from you." The silence stretched, thick with my shame. When he finally stood and walked out of the room, the unspoken verdict hung in the air. It was the end. My world shattered a few days later. I'd arranged to meet Ethan at the cafe, a desperate, foolish act. As our hands intertwined across the table, as his lips brushed mine in a fleeting, forbidden kiss, James's voice boomed through the cafe. "What the hell is going on?" I recoiled, horror-struck. James stood before us, his face a mask of incandescent rage, pain, and utter disillusionment. "You cheated on me," he accused, his voice trembling. "You've been lying to me all these months, Ava. Is this who you've been with? His gaze, full of venom, shifted to Ethan. And you? What are you doing with my wife? Ethan stood, attempting an explanation, but James was beyond reason. Explain how you seduced my wife. How you ruined our marriage, he roared. James, stop, I cried, but my voice was lost in the storm of his fury. You don't even understand what you've done, he spat at me. I trusted you. I tried to save our marriage, but you had already chosen him. His words were a brutal indictment. Leave, he finally choked out, the anger replaced by a devastating despair. I don't want to see you anymore, please. We left, Adam and I stepping out into a world that felt alien and hostile. I can't do this anymore, I whispered to Ethan. It's over. Our affair, my supposed salvation, had culminated in absolute disaster. The aftermath was a desolate landscape of regret. James filed for divorce, his communication curt, devoid of emotion, filled only with a profound weariness. Saying goodbye, packing my belongings from the home we'd shared, was an exercise in pure agony. Each object, each photograph, was a ghost of a happier time, a testament to a love I had systematically destroyed. He sat in the living room, a remote figure silhouetted against the window, as I dismantled our life. I'm ready, I said softly. He turned, his eyes cold, devoid of their former warmth. I don't know what to say, Ava, he rasped. I thought we could get through this, but his voice trailed off. I'm sorry, I whispered, the words inadequate, yet all I had left. He nodded, a curt dismissal, and turned back to the window. Our story, once a vibrant tapestry, was now just a collection of frayed threads. I had sought escape, and in doing so, I had lost everything, including, perhaps, myself. This journey through the labyrinth of infidelity is a stark reminder that choices have consequences, ripples that extend far beyond the initial act. What does Ava's story teach us about love, betrayal, and the search for happiness? Can a marriage recover from such a profound breach of trust, or are some wounds too deep to heal? Reflect on these questions, and if this diary entry has touched you, please like, share, and subscribe for more explorations into the complex landscape of human relationships. Sometimes understanding the darkness is the only way to find our way back to the light.